You are about to enter the Shockwaves Skullsessions Podcast. Coming soon to ShockwaveSkullsessions.com. And now, your host, Bob Nalbandian.
Welcome back, boys and girls. Shockwaves Skull Sessions. Back in action, alive and well. I'm here with my partner / producer, Matt Hartnett. What's up, Matt?
What's going on, Bob? How's it going, man?
Feels good, man. Feels good to get this back going again. You know, I've been talking about it for the last couple of years about getting the podcast going again. And, you know, I've been so busy doing the movies and everything.
Yeah,
and
you've been a busy man, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to...
going on for you.
Yeah, I took a break for a while. You know, if people don't remember, the Shockwaves Skull Sessions was hosted by Roadrunner Records, and we did that. God, I guess it was like 2000. I think 2007 started till about 2010. Yeah. We did several episodes, and then I got involved with doing the Inside Metal movies, and that was about the same time Roadrunner got bought out by Warner Brothers, and that kind of fell through. So it. You know, rather than kind of keeping it going, I decided to take a break because I'm not one of those guys that could multitask, so to speak. I knew if I was going to do the movies, I got to concentrate on that. But, you know, I kept the Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast going, which is basically strictly interviews, which I love.
One-on-one interviews, right?
Yeah, just one-on-one interviews, and mostly a classic hard rock and metal artist, you know, because that's kind of my forte. And, you know, I like promoting the new bands and everything, but there's so many podcasts out there that are kind of doing it, and you kind of get the same questions, the same kind of, you know, you'll see a band that comes out with a new album, and then they're featured
How many interviews you're going to do? Yeah, exactly, yeah.
10 different it's all kind of the same. So, you know, I like to dig deep on those. I did a great interview with Ian Anderson, which was...
That was awesome, man, yeah. That must have been, wow, that's special.
For me, it was. Yeah, I mean, because Ian Anderson, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, Jethro Tull. Dude, Jethro Tull.
I love Jethro Tull, but I'll put that out. I mean, somebody played flute. I mean, big deal.
Well, dude, if you listen to their early stuff, they were a part of the Sabbath. I mean, you listen to their first album, A New Day, Yesterday, all that. I mean, that was Doom. They were just before Sabbath, Purple, and Zeppelin. They were like kind of it was them and Cream, really, you know, that came out of England. I think Cream might have been about this, maybe a year before. And, yeah, man, Ian Anderson, just such a genius, and it was a little bit intimidating. It was a great interview. You can check that out on hardradio.com. Just go to the Shockwaves site. So I do that about once a month or so, but I really kind of wanted to get back into the Skull Sessions, which was original ideas. You know, it was a round table kind of, and we had a lot of classic...
And a round table with not, you know, it's not with just with musicians, it's with the music industry people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And authors and, you know, everybody. So I think that's what I loved about it. You know, I mean, they said that's kind of how we met through your skull sessions.
Yeah, that's
Monty
true.
Connor and I think it was a Monty Connor, and it was involved because. That's when I hit you up because of...
Monty hooked me up with it. You know, I used to work at Roadrunner years ago in the early 90s. I ran their LA office for a couple years. And so I've known Monty. I know Monty before Roadrunner, back when he was a radio DJ, and I was doing the fanzine. So we've got a long history. I know you've got a little history with Roadrunner. You were working with them in New York, right?
Yeah. I was there for I was an assistant there in the product management area for about 6 months. I worked there before I moved out to California. But yeah, I grew up back there, and obviously Roadrunner Records. I mean, if you're a underground metal fan, I mean, there was nothing better. And Monty Connor, he was the one that signed all those bands. He's the one that, so yeah, I mean, definitely I worked there. It was a great time, and it was a good experience. And, you know, but yeah, I mean, Roadrunners, you know, it's unfortunate it's not what it used to be, obviously. But yeah. You know, they were the shit back then.
And it's funny, we met when you moved to L.A., and what year? That was 2010, or?
Well, I've been in L.A. since about 2003, but we met in 2007 when you were doing the Skull Sessions. And I remember I emailed you, and then we just...
Okay, so you met me back when I was still in Chico then, because I...
Yeah, she was still in Chico. Yeah, she was in L.A. That's right.
That's right. And we were... That was the MySpace days.
That was the MySpace days.
Because I remember you helped me decide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So, you know, even back then, ever since, you know, Matt's been saying, dude... Got to start up the Skull Sessions. I've got time. I could produce. So you are going to be the producer on this, and I'm just going to set up. And we're you know, we'll take off where we did last time. I've been telling you, I've been on an email thread with Monty Connor and a bunch of different business people. A lot of the people we had on the original Skull Sessions, like you said, we had industry people. Monty Connor was a regular. Martin Popoff was a regular. A lot of authors. Joel MacGyver, Mick Wall was a regular. John Sutherland. Steve Hammonds. We had Ron Quintana. We had the old school, the real old school metal guys that started that whole thing. Brian Slagle was on a couple episodes. Malcolm Dome. We would go through the catalog of Iron Maiden or Deep Purple or Judas Priest. And, we also involved Bill Ward in a couple episodes. We had Bill Ward, Gene Hoglan, and Monty Connor on an episode. Bob Daisley was on an episode. We went through the Rainbow and Uriah Heep catalogs, I believe. And so we're going to kind of continue that. In fact, I might break out some of those old archive episodes and post some of them up as well.
Absolutely.
But we've already talked to all these guys. Monty wants. We're going to say I've already got scheduled for like Monty Connor, Mike Varney, David Tedge, producer Jack Endino, Ian Christie, a lot of the Joel MacGyver, as I mentioned, Martin Popoff. So we're going to kind of continue on that same style as the old Skull Sessions. We're just going to kind of update it and get some new topics and we'll get you involved in a few of them. Matt, of course, my old buddy and partner, Toby. We're lining something up with Toby and Jonas Auckland. So got a lot of good stuff planned up the upcoming episodes for
sounds
sure.
Like it. That's a hell of a lineup you got coming up here. So, yeah. What a way to get back into the groove here,
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's funny because I kind of got, since I stopped the Skull Sessions, there's just so many great podcasts out there, and it's which I think is fantastic, and there's a lot of good stuff. So I kind of felt, even though, like I said, after I did Skull Sessions, I didn't realize the demand of it, but when I ended it, I was just getting tons of emails over the last several years. Dude, you got to start up Skull Sessions. What are you doing? And I was like, you know what? There's so many cool podcasts out there. Yeah. But now I think the timing is right because we did do something very unique.
I was going to say, it's extremely unique.
Yeah.
You've got, most podcasts, it's straight up one-on-one interviews, which is great, but you never get 2 or 3 people, musicians, authors, music industry people, whatever. You never usually get them on a podcast. It's usually just, one-on-one interview, or maybe 2 guys in a band, that kind of thing. But you don't usually have the Skull Sessions kind of thing. It's very unique. I still have yet to, hear it anywhere else.
Well, a lot of people have said that, and that's what, the kind of the feedback I've been getting, and it is something different because we just have fun, man. We just bullshit. And, there's a lot of great podcasts that kind of do that just free form kind of, the classic metal show, obviously one of my favorites, Neely and Chris Aiken. They just kind of go out and they'll go way off topic of hard rock and metal and everything, but it's kind of anything goes. And, they have fun with it. And that's kind of what we're going to do.
I think people like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, there's some great podcasts out there. Joel MacGyver and Mick Wall is the dead rock stars. And they just ended that first season. That's classic. Anyone that busts Joel MacGyver's balls like that is down in my book. Thank you, Mick Wall. That's a good one. So I think I'm going to start up a second season, so to speak, of that. So What podcast do you listen to?
Obviously, I guess. Being from New York, there's one called the Brooklyn Blast Furnace, which I really like. That. I grew up in that hardcore scene. Because back then, like I was telling you, earlier, I think one other time we talked about this, but, in my generation, the 90s, there really wasn't a metal scene. In general, metal was kind of out, right, at that time. So in New York, everything really, even starting in the 80s, it all, the crossover stuff with the hardcore scene, that just kept going. Exactly. Fleaway and all these bands, exactly, and so, if you were into metal, in New York back in the 90s and stuff, there was, like I said, there really wasn't a metal scene. It was all, you got your metal from the hardcore scene.
It was kind of the same everywhere, I think, at least in the States.
But, I think, like, for instance, like LA, you had, bands like Fear Factory, even the Cold Chain. Even though they were new metal, but it was in metal.
Well, you had some of like Life of Agony and some of the New York.
True. But Life of Agony actually was originally a hardcore band. So I'm saying even look at Typo Negative came to Carnivore, which was originally a hardcore band.
Yeah.
So
Corrosion of Conformity, original punk band.
Exactly. Yeah. So everything kind of came through that scene, and then maybe sprouted and became a little bit different, But usually everything came through that scene. So I love the Brooklyn Blast Furnace, that's a great one.
Is Clutch? Are they British? Or are they?
No, Clutch is from Maryland.
Oh, Maryland.
Yeah,
okay.
Maryland band. Yeah.
Right.
So but they were huge.
I know
in New
they were
York.
always big in New York and in England. They're real big.
Huge, And, well, they're one of those bands that they would just get on any bill. Didn't matter what kind of genre it was.
Right.
Hardcore, punk. It didn't matter. They would and that's why they're huge now. I think they just built up their fan base because they just didn't care. They didn't care about being the headliner. Yeah. They'd open for anybody. So that's why they have.
What about Hatebreed? Were they considered hardcore? I know Jamie's got a cool podcast. That's a very New York.
That's also
podcast.
another great podcast. Yeah. I think it's good too. Yeah, no, I mean that's a hardcore band for sure from Connecticut. Hatebreed.
Yeah, it's cool listening to those New York podcasts for me being on the West Coast because you kind of get a different perspective. Yes, and for those of you that want to check out Band vs. Brand, man, definitely check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Vudu, a few different streaming channels out there. It's available on DVD as well, and it's a little bit different, more on the business end.
Yeah, and that's what's great about it. You don't see too many of those kind of DVDs out there and documentaries about the music business. I mean, everybody can benefit watching a Band vs. Brand. If you're a musician, it's a great learning tool. Basically, you watch that thing, you get a good idea. Because most musicians don't understand the whole thing about branding and marketing. So I thought it was just very educational. And I hope you continue to do some more of those educational.
I would love to, man. I'm glad we got the positive reaction because I was a little skeptical on how this would kind of go over. And you're right, it is kind of educational for not just musicians, but I think people trying to get into the business. It's important. Yeah. I think it's so relevant today more than ever, the branding aspect.
Absolutely.
So Matt, you're gonna set up a proper website. We're just kind of getting things rolling. A proper website, and we're gonna have a PayPal. In fact, you could go to my PayPal email address, shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com, and what we're gonna work out. If you want to contribute, it's up to you. If you want to throw us a few bucks, it's gonna keep our expenses. Just basically enough to keep our expenses to keep this going. Let's say if you donate $20 or more, I'll send you a promo of the Band vs. Brand or your choice of the Inside Metal DVDs. I'll send you a free DVD, and we'll throw in some bonus stuff, some bonus promo metal stuff. So we'll make it worthwhile. If you put in $20, we'll give you $20 worth of swag. So, again, that, we can have that set up right away. Shockwaves@gmail.com. That's already up and going if you want to send a little PayPal donation. And that'll just help us out to kind of keep the ball rolling. So, Matt, tell us what you've been doing.
Well, I mean, as you know, when we met, I was running a record company there for about 4.5, 5 years. So I did that for a while. But really, since then, I guess I've had experience in the music business. I've worked at Roadrunner, as we talked about. Worked at ASCAP. Worked at Shout Factory, which is a great, I think they were really the company that really got the documentary and.
You were telling me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the guys, the Foos brothers, who used to own and run Rhino Records.
Right.
So they were ahead of the game back then.
Yeah, they were.
That's a great company. So I was doing that for a while, obviously, and then really, when you have the label. It's definitely a big hit on your wallet, especially in 2007, 2008.
Talk about the label. No Joke Records, because that's how you were active, very active in the label when we met, and that was a killer label. You had some great bands, and it was doing really well. And of course, I think the timing was just so wrong.
It could have been worse timing.
Yeah, it was right when the whole turnover, when it was all getting into digital era.
And nobody was buying CDs, and then, it was was that time. And
do you still have promo material?
I've got tons of, and that's the other thing. If you contribute,
there you go.
That's another part of the if you want to donate, I'll throw you 5 CDs. Okay,
wow!
No joke.
And these are rarities, boys and girls. These are stuff you could turn around and sell on eBay for $100.
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't be giving away free promos if you could, but yeah.
Well, in the next 10 years, we'll say.
Well, yeah. Well,
they're collector's items.
Well, 3 of the bands are still active, so hey, you never know, right?
What were some of the bands you had on there?
Some of the bands, like we were talking about earlier, there's a couple of hardcore bands. One's a band from LA called Count Time. They're still very active. They're playing the Black and Blue Bowl this year, 2019, in New York City, which is like the biggest hardcore festival in the world, pretty much. Everyone from Europe and everything, they always come over there for this. And also Caught in a Trap, they're out in New York City as well. They're still active. They put out an album a couple years ago on Dead City Records. So they're still going. And also this band Noose out of New Jersey. They're like an old school kind of thrash sort of crossover band from New Jersey. They've been around since the 80s.
Cool.
It's two brothers and one of their buddies. It's a trio. They just put out a new album last year, I believe, a new record. You can go on. I forget the name of it, but so 3 bands, and those 3 bands are
dude, we gotta do
the highlight of the No Joke records. They're still going, so I'm proud of them.
We'll have you co-host on a hardcore. We already got Ian Christie from New York.
He knows his hardcore. I know because I've listened to his Bloody Roots, and he knows his shit.
Yeah, the Bloody Roots he does on Sirius. So maybe we could get you on.
We'd love to do an old school hardcore, stuff that we were talking about earlier.
That's something I'm not. As everyone knows, I'm more of an old school guy. I loved I loved the New York scene when the Cro-Mags came out. When you had the Crumb Suckers, of course, Agnostic, a lot of the crossover punk. All my buddies I grew up in Huntington were all old school punks. So. I wasn't so. I mean, I loved the Cro-Mags and certain bands that came out of that era, but I was more of a classic metal.
Absolutely, yeah, I got you, man. Like I said, it's a generational thing, right? That's why. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I love the classic stuff. When I was a little kid, I grew up with that stuff, but it was really I wasn't an angry teenager or whatever until when I was, hardcore was the shit.
It was a cool thing because we had, of course, here I was way into Suicidal Tendencies when they came out. They kind of did that whole crossover thing. And, the New York had their own kind of thing going on, and then you had, LA's
crossover is just California's actually in general is very underrated.
Yeah,
everyone talks about crossovers always New York City. Yeah, okay, it is, but at the same time, out here you had even the Bay Area, you had DRI.
Sure.
Down in LA, you said Suicidal. You had
DRI was usually Texas, weren't they?
Well, they're from Houston, but they moved up to the Bay Area, so it's sort of like a Metallica thing. They came up here to kind of make it with when the whole crossover thing was going on. So yeah, I mean. The crossover thing isn't just New York itself.
Well, there are a lot of LA bands too that kind of took over. Cryptic Slaughter, Rob Blasco's old band. They're featured in the Rise of LA thrash metal, as is Rocky from Suicidal, obviously.
Rocky
so that was a big thing, especially in the thrash market, because in LA when thrash hit after Metallica moved to the Bay Area. Thrash got real big here, but it was a crossover thing. You had a lot of the punks going to, so you would have DRI. Some of the Olympic Auditorium shows or the Fender Ballroom shows. People talk about LA of being the poser metal shit. You go to the Olympic Auditorium or Fenders back in the early '80s, you wouldn't see a more crazy, fucked up hardcore audience of just maniacs and gangbangers that would, a lot of the punk gangs that would come through, the Suicidals, the Lads, Circle One.
It's unfortunate.
It kind of fucked up because it got violent. It got, some of the Olympic Auditorium shows, some of the notorious ones with Anthrax and DRI. You probably remember that one.
Yes,
there was some crazy shit, and that kind of got me out of that whole thing.
And I agree with this, and that's unfortunately that's the problem. Well, with hardcore. That's been a lot of the problem with it. And I think, just for myself, running that label, being involved booking shows, we couldn't even book shows at places because when they hear the word hardcore, you couldn't because it's so affiliated with all that shit. Yeah. And unfortunately...
Suicidal got banned from LA for like 10 years. Yeah. Literally a band that got banned from playing the city.
Yeah, their own city. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But that's the thing with the hardcore scene. Unfortunately... A lot of that street thug shit came into it. I mean, not even just back then, but even in the 90s, even 2000s, it's still, it just kind of infiltrated. And it just kind of gave it a little bit.
Back then, it was before it all got commercialized. It was before the House of Blues. These bands were playing in Watts in different places in downtown LA.
A lot of places just don't want to book hardcore. I mean, because of it, because of the fear of these, the gang shit coming up and all that stuff. It's unfortunate because I love the music. A lot of the hardcore music, especially back in the early the Cro-Mags, the Leeways and stuff, because there's a lot more substance to it than maybe what it is now. You know what I mean? Just like I think
there was
music in general too. Now, metal and everything now. But
a lot of bands. I was just thinking, a lot of bands had to resort to playing in Tijuana at Iguanas.
Yeah, Iguanas. I remember Iguanas, man. Yeah.
I never went up there. I know Dark Angel did a few shows there and told me.
Agnostic Front used to play there and stuff. Yeah, Iguanas was.
Anything goes. People would be jumping off the balconies, stage diving, and crazy shit.
So we've been to some shows actually together recently, right? Over the last 3-4 months or so, we've seen Raven. We saw
Raven was cool. What was that little club we went to?
The Parkside.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a dive bar, just a big dive bar.
Yeah. That was awesome, man.
Cool
John Gallagher Well, what a cool dude. What a great fucking show.
That was a great show. Yeah. I think we were talking about
and Slow Fag opened up. Which
that's
was
right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I had never seen them before. I was always a big fan of theirs. It was great to see them.
And there another band that wasn't from the Bay Area, but they moved here, right, from Pennsylvania or something.
Exactly.
Or something like that, yeah.
Got that old school kind of new wave of British heavy metal sound.
But that was that was such a great show. The crowd of that show was great.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a positive, like, you know, I mean, it was, I don't know, it was such a good time.
I love that. I love those.
Yeah,
kind of seedy little shows out there, and
and then we saw Power Trip, which is more of a modern day thrash kind of band.
Yeah.
You know, they take it back to the old crossover.
Dude, they were awesome. They're such a great live band.
Yeah,
man.
great live.
You know, so many of these newer thrash bands. I say newer, even bands that were out for the last 10 years. You know, the
that's considered new now.
Yeah, you know, Havoc, Six Mortis, Warbringer, you know, Holy Grail, all these kind of bands, Fueled by Fire or whatever. That they have that image now, they like copy, and it's great that they're doing it, but Power Trip has the attitude. It's like they do it right. It's just like, this is like, it really brings you back.
They're a throwback.
They're
a throwback band,
really fucking good band. And they kind of mix it up a bit. They were not just thrash, or add a little bit of other elements, stoner, whatever, and just kind of
groove.
It's in that Texas groove, man. Good
Dallas,
stuff.
right? Dallas, Texas band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we saw recently. We saw Danko Jones. That unfortunately wasn't.
Danko. You know, I'm not into his newer stuff. His old stuff was killer, but the newer stuff's a little bit too poppy.
It's really poppy, man. Yeah. It's like really radio friendly stuff, and which is good. It's fine, but
he's a great performer, great singer, and he's great with the audience. Yeah. It was. But Nashville Pussy opened. They're always killer.
That was entertaining.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're very entertaining, Nashville Pussy.
Yeah. So got some good shows coming up. I mean, here in the Bay Area, it's. We got Michael Schenker coming back here.
Schenker's coming up, yeah.
Michael Schenker Fest.
Lee John Roth's playing, right? Isn't he playing?
Next week? Yeah, next week he's playing, yeah. But anyway, that was cool. So it'll be great to see Uli again, and he's going to do some old Scorpion shit.
Nice. And he does that, right? He plays the old Scorpion stuff, right?
That's
what people go to see him for that, right? Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's that. I don't know how much stuff he still does from the Electric Sun, you know, the Fire, Wind, and the Earthquake record, but... dude, if you haven't seen Uli Roth before, that dude is an absolute fucking legend of a guitar player. And one of the last you're going to see. I mean, you know, the Rory Gallagher's passed, you know. Gary Moore's passed, you know. Blackmore, who knows what the fuck he's doing. I mean, Schenker's still going at it, and he's sounding better than ever. You got Schenker and Uli that are actively still touring here in the States. And, you know, apart from that, there's not a whole lot of...
Yeah, Schenker, he toured here not that long ago.
He just played the San Jose Civic, and he packed the place, and he had all the different singers from and he did the whole era, and it was fucking great. Schenker has been playing better than ever the last few years. He's been sober, and, you know, which I'm just so bummed out about, and still in mourning is the fact that Ted McKenna recently passed away. And, you know, we hung out at that show. I had interviewed Ted for my Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast a couple of weeks before that show, and you know, got along great, and you know, we talked about, you know, all the early, you know, Rory Gallagher and sensational Alex Harvey, and you know, we hung out at that show afterwards, and then, you know, I just heard. You know, he passed away on a fluke. It was kind of well, it was like a surgery, like an elective surgery that went bad or something.
Oh, it was?
Something kind of really weird. Because he was in great health. When I met him, he was playing better than ever. And shit. So, I mean, if you want to hear some killer drums, man, listen to Michael Schenker's Assault Attack record, man. The title track in particular. I mean,
awesome, yeah.
He's like him and Cozy Powell, man. The shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, we were, you know, what's kind of sucking is just the fact that what I'm nervous about is what's going to happen when these guys, you know, start going left and right. I mean,
go see these shows while you can, people.
Exactly.
It's not going to last long.
It's not. Yeah.
Go out and support these bands, you know, and they're out touring, man. They're out busting their ass in their 60s and
touring, and you know, it's great just to see them playing these little clubs. Like when we've seen Raven, you know, playing a little divey old bar thing. I mean, you know, obviously they used to play bigger, you know, more huge spots. You know, I mean, they were a big band on a major label and everything, and it's like, I just loved it because, you know, sometimes you know, a lot of these bands, their egos get to them, right? So if they're like, I'm not going to go play a little dive like that, I'm not going to do it. And just the fact that you got a band like Raven playing these little clubs, it just
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not going to be forever. So take advantage of it. Yeah, while they're out there.
Well, I get a lot of these guys are older. They don't want to do the cold club thing, touring in a van or
totally
a tour, even a tour bus if they're in their 60s. But
playing in front of 30 people, right? Who wants to do it when you used to play in front of 3,000 people?
Yeah, but you got to really respect the bands that do it because so many bands. I mean, you got all these bands like Wasp or Manowar or whatever that refuse to play the States.
Yeah.
We're only going to play in Europe, play the festivals because they pay more. Whatever. I get it, but it's bullshit. It's like, you gotta. So anyway, I think we should probably wind this down. This being kind of the introductory.
Sure, yeah.
I just kind of wanted to let people know that we're back in action. I think we're gonna just continue on. I've got that Facebook page for Shockwaves Hard Radio and Skull Sessions, so we're gonna get that active again. It hasn't been that active lately, but we'll keep that going. So just Facebook. What else do we need to say before we close this up?
I think you hit it all, man. I think, like you said, there's going to be a lot more episodes. It's going to be great, man.
Hell yeah, we're going to have fun with this, man. What we'll do is we'll do these conversations. We'll cut them up into different episodes. So we're going to keep it consistent every week. So once we get
have a lot
posted,
of content. We're going to have a lot of content for you. So definitely, it's not going to be one thing every month. It's going to be
absolutely weekly. We're going to keep it very consistent, and it'll be on several directories, right? I know we'll get on iTunes,
iHeartRadio. It's going to be on TuneIn,
YouTube,
SoundCloud, YouTube.
Spreaker, of course.
Yeah. Spreaker. So those are, I think, the major ones. Yeah. So, I mean, and we're just going to get them on as many as we can. So whatever podcast site you like to listen to your podcast on, just check it out. I'm sure we'll be on there. That's our goal. So, yeah.
Radio.
Cool.
All right, man. So subscribe. Once we get it up there, subscribe and listen.
Thank you for listening to the Shockwaves Skull Sessions Podcast. You can subscribe and listen to all episodes of the Shockwaves Skull Sessions Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spreaker, Google Play, and more. Be on the lookout real soon for our new website at www.shockwaveskullsessions.com. Go to our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for up-to-date news on the Shockwaves Skull Sessions Podcast. Email all questions, comments, and suggestions to shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com.